Hi guys, good afternoon. We're going to start now. I'd just like to introduce Click Dimensions, and I'm very pleased to welcome John, who's going to take you through some uses of marketing all within Microsoft CRM. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. You'll learn some good stuff. I'd like to hand over to John, who's going to take you through marketing within Microsoft CRM.
All right, thank you, Carl. I appreciate being invited here today. This is John Gravely. I'm with Carl Newman of Consult CRM. We are at the Microsoft office in Reading, England. Just having a big time over here. The topic of our webinar is called Marketing 2.0, the Convergence of Marketing Automation and Customer Relationship Management. And really what that means is the idea of, instead of having a marketing system or an email marketing system and a customer relationship or CRM system, you have one system that includes all functions together, and that's what Click Dimensions makes possible. Now, the way that we're going to present this is not through a demo of Click Dimensions or Microsoft CRM so much as we're going to look at a series of case studies, real examples that we did, campaigns that we did using Microsoft CRM and Click Dimensions. We have actually a lot of ground to cover, so I want to actually jump right into it and start getting into the content. We're scheduled for an hour, and we'll leave the last 5 or 10 minutes for questions. Okay, so these are the things we're going to cover just as an idea. We're going to talk about a little brief overview on Click Dimensions, just so you know who we are. Then I want to sort of start with some baseline thoughts on marketers and what marketers should be thinking about in terms of lead acquisition and costs of marketing and things like that. Then I want to talk through as many of these 5 case studies as time allows for, just different things that we've done from a marketing standpoint. So that's our agenda. Let me start by describing what marketing automation is. People have thought about marketing in terms of blasting out emails and maybe seeing who clicked on the links and where the interest was. Marketing automation takes that to an entirely new level and lets you not only do a bulk email and track who opened and clicked, but also then see what people did on your website, see who really was engaged and what they were interested in, and even score them. Really be able to tie things like forms on your website into your CRM and be able to understand where your search and online advertising efforts are paying off. So it's a suite of functionality that marketers can use to really enable and empower their entire marketing process. Click Dimensions is built this tool inside Microsoft CRM to solve the traditional problem that a marketer would have. If you think back to the way most of us have done marketing, we might have a CRM system, we might have an email tool. They're probably not integrated, but if they are, the integration is slight. We have to sort of learn about dual concepts on both sides. So in other words, the CRM system will have lists, but they won't be the same lists as the marketing system, and they might have campaigns in one system that aren't the same as campaigns in another. And then things like your surveys and your web analytics and any kind of social data are dealt with in other applications. What we've done is we've taken all this functionality and data and put it inside your Microsoft Dynamics CRM solution. So you will log into Microsoft Dynamics CRM, you'll have all your data in one place, including your CRM data, your email marketing data, your analytics data. As a marketer, that's very powerful, because when you start thinking about scenarios or queries that you can get from the system, you won't be limited by worrying about which data is in which bucket. It's all in one bucket. That's what makes it powerful. And to top it off, it's linked to your website, it's linked to your audience, your recipients, so that in real time we're seeing how people interact. We're seeing when they receive and open and click emails. We're seeing when they come to your website. It creates a number of exciting possibilities. As a vendor, Click Dimensions is the highest ranked solution on Microsoft's marketplace. We were a finalist for the CRM Solution of the Year as nominated by Microsoft this past summer. We're a certified solution, and we are one of less than 70 companies worldwide in Microsoft's BizSpark 1 invitation-only program. So we've got a good relationship with Microsoft. We've got hundreds of customers now around the world, from Australia, New Zealand to the States, over into Europe and Asia. And as you can see on the slide, they're just really from a number of walks of life, big companies, small companies, leading ISVs in our space, as well as big brands that you would have heard about in one way, shape, or form. Okay, so let's get into the real good content. Couple things I want to set as sort of baseline thoughts for marketers out there. The first thing is that marketers have always used an email tool or a marketing tool separate from CRM. The problem with that is that they're not really then getting to take ownership or control of the data that a company has. You think about it, when a company builds up data about their customers, their prospects, who they've attempted to contact, who owns what product, that's a gold mine. You can market back into that. You can just do so much with it. So the idea of a marketer not being completely in touch with CRM is really not a good thing. Marketers should use CRM. Putting their marketing tool in CRM really makes it easier for them to do that. They're tracking key things about all their customers and prospects. They're organizing and taking control of the data. It's very important. And then the final kind of thought on that is, marketing really needs to know the value of each new lead so they can really think about how much can they spend marketing. And so let's look at an example of a couple of these principles here. So I'm showing you just sort of a mock screen of an account record that would be in our CRM. And when we talk about how to categorize the data inside Click Dimensions, it really is pretty simple for us, and it's probably pretty simple for you. If you do a good job of sort of keeping track of a couple key fields, like the relationship type. I mean, you'd be surprised how many companies don't know who their customers are, don't know who's a suspect versus a prospect. I mean, it's one field. If you knew that, then you'd really be able to mine that data and do things more productively with it. A lot of companies don't really have that. They may have it in their financial system. They may be able to query it, but it's not in front of sales. It's not in front of marketing. So, keep that one field in your CRM, whatever you may call it in your CRM. Microsoft CRM tends to call it relationship type. Keep that. Now, for us, we think of our qualifying criteria. So this is going to be different for every company, but in the case of Click Dimensions, we only work with Microsoft CRM. So we want to note for every company what CRM they run, and if it's not Dynamic CRM, we're not going to waste our time talking to them. It's a real easy qualification criteria, but what if it is Dynamic CRM and they're using a competitive marketing automation solution or no marketing automation solution? Well, it's probably easier to sell to them if they're not using anything, unless what they're using is really bad, and then we'd try to do a conversion. But the point is that you really need to track this key data, and people sort of tend to get overwhelmed and think that it's a big project. It's probably 2 or 3 fields to really find out who your target audience is. And if you do a good job of that, then you'll have a nice database to mine from. The other thing to think about is just some really simple math on figuring out what a lead might be worth to you. So we call this the lead value calculation. It's really, really simple. Think of a funnel. Okay? At the top of the funnel, you have the universe of prospects. So in our world, that would be the number of companies that run Microsoft. So we'll get that number from Microsoft, and they'll tell us that there are 25,000 companies running Microsoft CRM. Okay, we have to take their word for that. But then we'll look in our CRM, and if we've categorized those that we know, those companies that we know own Microsoft CRM, which let's just say that's 1,000 for sake of argument, then we have an idea of the number that we know about. So out of 25,000 potential targets, we know about 1,000 of them. Then we go down to the last level of how many of those are our customers. Okay, so that's pretty easy. If you kept track of the first field that we talked about, then you'll know your customers. And so then you come up with this probability of close. It stands to reason that if there are 1,000 customers of Microsoft CRM in your database and you have 250 as customers, for every 4 that you find out about, you will close 1 of them. So if you know, just for example's sake, that your initial deal profit is $1,000, then you could spend, up to, let's say, $249 to acquire a new lead, because you'd spend that times 4 and you'd make a little bit of money. Obviously, you don't want to spend that much, but if you're spending $50 to get each new customer or to get each new lead, then you got to get 4 leads to get 1 deal, so you spent $200 to make $1,000 of profit. That's probably good business for you. So if you just think of this simple math, starting with the number of targets overall, the number that you know about, and the number you've converted, and then the initial deal profit, then you really have a good idea of what you should spend on marketing. And then when you think about an event or some sort of marketing activity that you want to do, you can guesstimate or estimate how many conversions you think you'll get. You look at what it costs, and you'll know whether you should do it or not. Okay, so I'm going to go to some real fundamentals now and just talk about the first thing that we do on an ongoing basis to build up our customer and prospect base, which is a monthly newsletter. Now, that may not sound exciting, but so few companies do a good job of it that I want to bring it up, and I want to talk about some metrics that we've seen and some things that you might want to measure to understand whether you're being successful in doing this. So the first thing to talk about, and Carl and I were actually just having a conversation about this. This is funny because we're sitting next to each other. I feel like I'm a host on NPR or something, which is the equivalent of what, the BBC?
Yeah.
Okay.
BBC, yes.
All right. I feel like I'm a BBC host. But content is the problem. You might have all the intention in the world to do a great newsletter every month, but then you get to the end of the month and you don't have anything to put in it, and that's a problem. And then if you put a lot of stuff in it that's about you, and what you've done and how awesome you are, that might not be super exciting to other people. That might be, a little bit, don't take it to an extreme. So what we do and what we've seen other organizations be successful at is, first of all, pick a date. Pick a date that you're going to do the newsletter every month. In our case, we like the first Tuesday or Wednesday of the month. That's just become a standard. Is it meaningful? Is it better than the second Tuesday? It doesn't really matter. The point is that you've picked a target to get that thing out. And then the second thing is that you do something that causes you to create original content. Like, for example, blog. If you have 15 people in your company and 5 of those are capable of writing blog posts and you want to write a blog post a week, then you're going to have about 50 weeks out of the year probably that somebody's going to write a blog post. You have 5 people that can write. That means everybody has to write 10 blog posts a year. That's not overwhelming for people to do. Basically, every 5th week somebody would write a blog post, and you do it in a round robin, maybe publish a schedule and get them to execute on that. Now, if you're doing that, then you're going to get to the end of the month and you're going to have 4 original pieces of content from your blog, and hopefully you can do more than that and have 8 or 6 or whatever the case may be. But when you write those blog posts, you can go out and tweet them out. Like, so I've got a tweet up here on my screen, and there'll be people following your Twitter account. If you're up on Twitter lingo, following are people that sort of subscribe to hearing from you on Twitter. But there'll also be people that you sort of want to be aware of your post that you can reach by putting in what's called a hashtag when you tweet out, which are these little things with the pound signs in front of them. So when we do a blog post over here, we'll put it out on Twitter with sort of a little line about what it is and then a shortened URL to take people to the blog post, and then we will put in a few hashtags because people search in their Twitter clients on their mobile devices and on their browsers for these hashtags. People that are interested, for example, in Microsoft CRM tend to search on these 2 hashtags, MSCRM and pound MSDyn CRM. So you do that. You also can post it out on your Facebook page if you have one of those. Some people, live in Facebook. Regardless of what you might think about that, it's just a reality. That's how some people consume their information, and that's another way to publish it. But then at the end of the month or whenever your newsletter date is, do a nice newsletter through hopefully our solution, but if not somebody else's, to publish out that content, and then you're going to have something to provide. So I'm going to actually jump into Dynamics CRM along the way as we go through this, and I'm going to pull up our CRM system, and I'm going to kind of show you, first of all, this is Dynamics CRM 2011, and I'm in the marketing section, and these two sections that I'm attempting to outline, but my highlighter's being weird, are click dimensions functionality. And so I'm going to focus here for a minute on the email marketing functionality, and then in a minute we'll talk about the web tracking and lead scoring and forms and all that sort of stuff. But notice that unlike a traditional marketing tool you might have used, this capability is just embedded in your CRM. All the data is right in here. So you actually build your email templates in here, which means you're going to send them out to marketing lists that are inside CRM. So let me go ahead and open a email template record that's in CRM, and you'll notice that it's got a name and a subject line and some tags to help categorize it. And I'm going to actually open the design tool in full screen so that you can see that you have just a nice sort of familiar Microsoft Word-like environment where you get to create these emails, and you get to put in your own graphics and hyperlinks, and you get some design options in terms of what they look like. You can even embed data directly from the CRM record into the email to personalize it, so it could say, Dear Carl. You can even put that in the subject line. That can really get a nice response rate, by the way. And of course, you're going to create hyperlinks to different articles and things like that. So this is just an example of our newsletter, the format we use, with some nice graphics to try to catch people's attention. We will put in a little summary of each sort of blog post. We don't want to give the whole thing away because we want them to click through, get them back to our site, get them browsing, get them learning about our solution. So because these templates are in CRM natively, then when you go to send them out, you can just come in and put together what we call an email send record. I'm going to show you one of those. And with that, what you're able to do is basically marry the template to one or more marketing lists, specify who it should come from. Maybe you want it to come from your individual salespeople, so you can tell it to come from the owners of those CRM records, so that you get a potential to have a higher open rate, because instead of coming from a generic alias, it might come from that known salesperson that recipient would know of. So you actually can schedule it and do spam testing and preview what it's going to look like and all that, and then right inside CRM you're able to see how this email is performing, how many messages were there, how many opens and unique opens and bounces and things like that did you get. If you want to know what topics were of interest, you can look and see who clicked on what link. Actually bring up a native CRM report that can be exported to PDF or Excel or whatever the case may be, and understand how many clicks you got on each link, and be able to drill in and see what the who the person was that did that click, or whatever the case may be. So you've got all this data coming into CRM. It really makes it easy to sort of analyze your newsletter and understand kind of what's going on with that. So let me switch back now to the slideshow and talk about what this does for you in terms of bringing people not only back to click and open the newsletter, but to actually visit your site and to increase that traffic and generate interest. And what you're looking at is actual real data. It's not even abstracted. It's just real data since we started building up this newsletter 1 year ago. So from last November to this November. Okay, last November we had 558 messages going out. Now we're at 3,011. So we've really grown our list, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in our next example. what we look at with this is we look at, the number of clicks and the number of unique opens, which to me is the most interesting, because a unique open, although people will open an email multiple times, you want to just know that, Tony got the email. So that would count as one unique or distinct open. And you want to see these numbers increasing. So I like to see these 35% open rates and 37%. That means over a third of the people that got your email actually opened it, actually took some time to look at it and read it. What we also like to look at is how many visits came to your website the day the newsletter was launched, but since these things tend to sit out there and people may not get to it for a couple days, we like to look at the 3-day visit total. So the day you launch the newsletter in 2 more days, and really see, is your newsletter doing what you want it to do? A year ago we got 108 visits in 3 days. Well, 2 weeks ago we got 1,600. So now talk about generating more interest, and then we graph that so we can see that we've got growth in the number of messages that are going out because we're growing our list, and we've also got a nice growth in terms of the 3-day visit total. So we're seeing our indicators going up, so we know that whatever we're doing on the newsletter is engaging people, it's bringing them back to the site, and we can take a look at that. So you might actually have a natural tendency to say, well, how did you get your list from 558 to 3,000 and some people? And that's where I'm going to talk about a campaign that we did starting around January called the Newsletter Recruit Campaign, where we were basically trying to recruit people to join our newsletter list. Okay, so the first thing that I'll say here is that almost any organization should be building up their list, people they can market to, whether actively or in a drip type of nurture fashion. So you should always be list building. So let's talk about some really common ways to do that. First of all, your auto signature. Just have all your employees sign up to our newsletter in the auto signature. That's super basic, but if you give them a link they can click on, which will take them to a form, which is the type of form that Click Dimensions lets you do, then you will get just a group of people every week or day, or depending on how big you are, coming and signing up proactively to your newsletter. That's gold. Those people are opt-in. They've asked you to communicate with them. When they sign up for the newsletter, you want to let them know the frequency of it and all that good stuff. You want to have a nice short web form. You don't want to ask them for their social security number or whatever identifying number that you might have here. You just want to keep it sweet and short and sweet. So what we do is we ask for their email address, mandatory. Obviously you need that. We'd like their first, last name, and company name, but we don't require that, because what we really just want is the email. It'll be great if they'll give us extra information, but I'd rather have them with just an email than not have them because they don't want to fill out extra data. Anytime you do a webinar, get people to sign up, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is here. If you will go to our website, and let me tab to it. So here's the Click Dimensions website. Let me see, I've got to get my pointer back. And if you may need to scroll down, there's a big orange button, sign up for our Microsoft CRM marketing newsletter. Come in here and give us your email, and if you want your first, last, and company name. I'm even going to copy the link and chat it out to the group, because I really want you to sign up to our newsletter and learn every week or every month through blog tips and articles how to do better marketing with Microsoft CRM. So if you look to the right of your screen in the GoToWebinar application, you'll see that chat pane. You can click on the link I sent you and sign up. That would be great. So this is a list building opportunity, because there are a number of people on this call, and who would I be to not ask you to sign up for the newsletter? When you're at a trade show and you're getting people's cards, that doesn't mean that they naturally want to get spammed by you. So ask them, and put a note on the cards of the people that say that they want to be contacted. Okay, so now what we did to really grow the list is we sort of had a group of data that we got from various people in our company that we knew were people that were sort of in the industry that we were targeting and marketing to, but they weren't people that had given us their permission to be on our newsletter list. So we tried a technique where we created a very personal email just using Outlook. We have a feature in our product, it's called Outlook Cast, which allows you to build an email in Outlook and send it out through Click Dimensions so you know who's opened and clicked and all these things. And so we were able to create a nice personal email in Outlook, and the message of that email was very simple. We made sure to let people know that we were asking their permission to keep them up to date with us. And honestly, if I had that to do all over again, I'd probably ask their permission to give them helpful marketing advice on Microsoft CRM, because this probably looked a little more promotional than I wanted it to. But we went on to tell them who we were. We gave them the call to action to sign up for the newsletter, which I might now, in hindsight, turn that into a more eye-catching button. But the whole idea is that the email did a couple things. First of all, it went out and it said, "Hey, Carl, we have your email address. We're not putting you on the list. We're not going to just be one of these people that just spams you against your will, but we're going to send you this one email, tell you who we are, invite you to subscribe, and then tell you who we are. So even if you don't subscribe, you'll know who we are, and we'll plant that seed." So we went out to everybody that was kind of in the circle of people that we felt like this was appropriate to do. Now, most people will just go ahead and add people to the list and let them opt out. That's not permission marketing. That's not the right thing to do. We took this approach, and so what happens is that because our web form is tied in to our CRM, we actually get this entry called posted forms, and I can see several, or at least a couple people, Chris and Graham, actually, we added 2 more people to our newsletter. They actually came in, they opted in, and I get a record for their form that they filled out. I could actually see the fields that they put into that form. They would have turned around and been sent the last copy of our newsletter. So when they sign up, we don't leave them hanging and waiting for us to put out a new newsletter. We just send them the most recent copy, and then of course they're on the list going forward. So the email that we sent out got people to come back to the website, fill out the form, and then of course we get notified internally by an email showing us. So Microsoft CRM shows us that somebody came and opted in, so our sales guys can take a look at it, and then maybe even pull up the individual's record. And Graham, I apologize, I don't know you, but I'm going to pick on you a little bit.
Very nice man, I'm sure.
Okay, I hope so. And what I can see, because I'm using Click Dimensions, is first of all I can go down and look at your visits to the website. So I can see that you've had 1 visit to the website, at least as far as we know with the current tracking. I can open that and see that you came in from direct traffic, which of course you did. I sent you the link. But I can also see down below, well, I can see the number of pages you went to. So I can see we don't have any dirty content on our website, so you don't need to be worried about being embarrassed. You went to the home page, you went to the newsletter page, and then you filled out the form, so we know that. That's great. I can see in here that you came from this IP address that is associated with the Grassroots Group UK Limited out of Stratfordshire, UK, and from that IP address I can also see that our buddy, this is not staged by the way, this just happened, Carl Newman has come in from that IP address in the past. Now Carl is probably working with this client and probably on site, and so that traffic came in tied back to that particular IP address. So you must have been there.
Wow, I have been there.
Okay.
That's quite scary.
You were on our website back on May 19th, 20th, and 23rd when probably working with this customer. But because we keep a single record of all traffic coming in from that IP address, we can see things like that. So we could know, for example, in this organization, whether it's just one person that's interested or it's multiple people that are interested. The point being, when we did our newsletter recruit campaign and sent out that email inviting people to fill out the form and come back and be part of our newsletter, even the ones that didn't fill out the form, we could see a score for how much they were on the site. And if somebody had a really high score but didn't actually sign up for the newsletter, that kind of gave us enough confidence to maybe reach out and talk to them, or maybe send them another email, because the score and their participation in being on our website showed us that there was some interest there. So we sort of built the list a little bit more by not only the people that filled in the form, but the people that actually showed a lot of interest on the site, even though they didn't fill in the form. Because some people will receive an email like this, they won't necessarily read every detail of it. They might assume they've been added, they might be okay with it. You don't know. Just the thing you don't want to do is just add everybody in that you ever found their email address for, because that's just not cool. We did this, and these are actual response rates. We had a pretty nice list, a few thousand folks when we did this campaign, and you can see that we measure everything, which I think every marketer should do. We sent that out in like 7 different emails, and we saw that the unique open rate, you wouldn't expect it to be as high as your newsletter, but for a sort of generic email like this, to get 13 to 18% open rate is really good. We got 7 to 11% click rate. A lot of the people that clicked through actually signed up for the newsletter, and so this campaign was a success. And if we go back a few slides to this data, you'll see this campaign really kicked off in December, January, which is really where we started taking that bump up in terms of number of recipients that we were marketing to, and then just all the building of the newsletter and people hearing about it just really kept building the list up. So that's now a really nice asset for us. We get very few unsubscribes on that from month to month, and people look forward to the content because it's original content. Okay, so that was some of the more basic stuff. And now we're going to move on to a third case study on tracking. A lot of people want to drive traffic to their site. A lot of people use advertising. If you're believing in the concept of inbound marketing and trying to get people back to your site to learn more about your organization, to see you as a credible resource, then you're going to want to really understand which of the sources, the traffic sources, bring the best visits, bring the best visitors, bring the people that are going to convert, and we're going to talk about how to do that. So I'm going to use this slide of these kind of collage of graphics here to sort of explain how this works. So let's say you create an ad in LinkedIn. And by the way, depending on what your business is, LinkedIn can be a very powerful advertising platform for a couple of reasons. One is everybody's on LinkedIn. I believe it's pretty big here in the UK.
Yeah.
It's huge in the United States. I mean, I don't know a person that is not on LinkedIn. We just hired a college graduate, and I had to tell her to set up a LinkedIn because she didn't know there was anything other than Facebook. Then I had to tell her that her Facebook picture was not going to be acceptable on LinkedIn. But everybody uses LinkedIn. It's a great tool. But they actually did something a few months ago which is really worth taking note. They actually started to let you target advertising based on group membership. It's very powerful if you think about it. So imagine us. We're Click Dimensions. We target people that are dealing with Microsoft CRM. Maybe you're a business owner like Carl that runs a CRM business, maybe user. You might belong to one or more CRM groups where you're sort of getting kept up to date on CRM stuff. You can go into LinkedIn, you can set up an ad, and you can target, instead of having to target people by sort of more nebulous criteria like their age or the title or where they live or what that, you can just target them based on the group CRM. So we created an ad. It targets every group that has anything to do with Microsoft CRM. If you are a pet shop owner, you might want to target everything to do with any kind of pet owner clubs, and you might want to limit it geographically. But you have all this capability to really do targeting with all the online advertising options available to you now. But how do you know that the traffic you're getting is good? Well, on any ad platform, when you set up an ad, you will have a URL that the person is sent to when they click the ad. And you can just make a minor modification to that to make it unique so that when the visit comes into your CRM, if you're using Click Dimensions, you would be able to see the uniqueness of that URL in the visits entry page. So in other words, you're creating a fingerprint so that when that person that clicks through on that ad gets into your CRM, you know exactly, not sort of or kind of, you know exactly where they came from. But guess what else you know? You know how long they stayed on your site. You know what they went to. Even if you don't yet know their name, you're getting an idea of the quality of traffic that comes from that source. And then because you're able to query the data using CRM's native querying tools like the Advanced Find, you can group together all your visits from LinkedIn or from Bing or from Google or from whatever, and then you can compare them. So this is real data that we see. So we have 3 primary traffic sources that we analyze for this example. We have Google, we have LinkedIn, and we have Microsoft's own application marketplace. For each of these, there's a different cost. The Microsoft listing is free to us as a partner. The LinkedIn ads cost on average a couple dollars, $2-3 a click. And then the Google ads cost a little bit more than that. So compare now the score, duration, and number of pages that the average person goes to, and you can see there's a huge quality difference in those visits. So LinkedIn will tell you how many people clicked your ad, but you don't know if those people bounced and only went to one page. What this type of a solution will tell you, being in your CRM, is which has the highest score, which traffic is staying on the longest and going to the most pages. So it's clear from this that the more visits we can get from the Dynamics Marketplace, the better, because number one, they're free and they're super high quality. Google, on the other hand, very expensive. The visits tend to be lower quality because people are on that. They might search on something related to you, and they might just click you just because they, just want to check it out, but it's not really relevant. You can sort of avoid some of that by making sure that the wording of your ad is specific to what you do. So, for example, in our case, if somebody's looking for marketing automation and they use Salesforce.com, I need to have Microsoft CRM, as I do here, in the titles of my ads because I don't want them clicking on because I have no product to sell them. That would just be a waste of my money. But it becomes very clear where the good traffic's coming from, and then you can take action. We took a lot of action based on this study here. We started to really push and ask our customers to review us on our marketplace so that our rating would go up so we would go to the top of the list. And we also changed how we looked at Google AdWords. We started changing the keywords that we targeted because we could then further segment the traffic that came from Google, and we could tell which traffic, which keywords were bringing in high-quality visits versus low-quality visits. And would you like to take a guess as to what traffic, what keywords bring in the highest quality visits to your site? Or at least in our market, I can't speak for yours, but it's probably, what do you think?
Well, ours is Microsoft CRM.
Yeah. But set up a campaign on one of your competitors' names and see what happens. We found that by putting more money into the campaigns on competitive terms, we get higher quality visits. First of all, that's because we're so much better than our competitors. I believe you are too. But I'm serious. I'm not even joking about this. Competitive keyword buys can be some of the best. Now, why is that? I'll show that to you right here. If you go to Google Analytics and you look at where your traffic's coming from, it'll give you this little graph. It'll show you how much is coming from direct, how much from referring, and how much from search engines. And you think, okay, this is great. I'm getting 28.54% traffic from search engines. Okay. But you're not. Because what's happening is that when you can see it inside CRM the way we show it to you, and you can see the visits that come from search engines, guess what? The majority of those already know who you are. So they're doing what's called a branded search visit. They already know your brand. So they're clicking, they're just using Google as a way to type in Consult CRM or Click Dimensions, so it might as well be direct traffic. So you could figure that a lot of this search engine traffic is really the equivalent of direct traffic. But what else does that tell you? it tells you that if they're doing that for you, they're doing that for your competitor. So they're out there searching, when they want to go to their competitor, maybe they're disgruntled. Maybe they're trying to get tech support from your sloppy competitor that's nowhere near as good as you. And then they see, your name pop up. They go to your site, and they look like, they get interested in your product. It's highly effective. So I'll show you what we do on this. Do a little time check. We're at 3:42, so we're doing good. Is we look at the visits coming in to CRM. In our system, visits come in real time. So I can look and I can see that this person right here from Spain, because they're coming from Google Spain, came to us because they searched on Dynamics 2011 capture leads from web. Now, so far, this is a visit in progress. So far, they've only been to one page. So maybe they were looking for something totally different and bounced and left. Maybe they're still on that page really reading it and soaking it up. We'll see once their visit ends. But notice these other visits from search. Searched on our name, people searching on our name. That's very common. But when you see, like here's a visit that went to 2 pages, they searched on Microsoft CRM 4, add hyperlink to form. Now, here's a visit, University of Salford. I don't know where they are. They're in the UK. So this might be a lead for you.
Near Manchester.
Right. They searched on our sweet spot. They searched on what it is that we're best at. Microsoft CRM HTML email marketing. But guess what? They went to 9 pages. So now let's see where that came from. And let's understand that was completely organic traffic. So if it had been a paid ad, I would see in the entry page the little parameter I have to make my ads unique. But because I just see a regular URL, I know that it's just an organic visit. So my search engine optimization, making my site compliant, is helping us go to the top. They came from Google UK, which we obviously classify as a search engine. And we can see the search terms that they searched on. Highly good visit, so they went to a score of 58. A duration of almost 2 minutes. They went to 9 pages. So they kind of breezed through it. They didn't spend a ton of time on any page. They spent about a minute on the home page. They spent 25 seconds on the email marketing, which stands to reason because their terms were email related. So we have a pretty good idea what they're interested in. Now let's go and open and see if they're the first traffic from that particular IP address. And they are. So this is fresh meat. Okay, so what's going to happen is at some point, they'll probably get interested enough to fill out a form on our website or download a white paper, whatever the case may be, and we'll see that happen and we'll know where they ultimately came from. We could obviously also now cold call into their marketing director if we wanted to, and maybe or have Consult CRM do that and see what their interest is. But you don't go on to our site and search on Microsoft CRM HTML email marketing if they're not running Microsoft CRM. So we got a prospect. We got a live one in the hopper here, Carl. All right, so we look at that and we're able to group together visits from different sources. So I've created a query to look at visits, for example, from all of my LinkedIn ads today. And you can see that I have had 6 visits from LinkedIn ads, and one was on for 6 pages, Tele-Denmark, and then another one for 6 pages. So out of 6 visits, I had 2 high quality, so that's good. And what that means is if I know what I'm paying per click, which is about $3, I know I spent 18 bucks to get 2 good visits. They may not convert right away and fill out a form. They may come back a month or 2 months later, but that's okay. Nobody spends 6 pages on our site if they're not owning Microsoft CRM or seriously looking at it if they're not interested. So CRM 2011 has this dashboard capability, which is really nice. So I've put together certain queries, and actually I think I have it open in a different window so you can see it better. I've put together certain queries in a dashboard so I can look at all my traffic coming in. So I'm going to take a look at that now. I've got my search marketing dashboard where I just put in different views. Who's visited from LinkedIn today? So here are those 2 6-pagers. So I get an idea that my LinkedIn spend is pretty good. I'm happy to pay $18 for 2 good visits. I look at my visits from the Microsoft Dynamics Marketplace, and I got a big, nice 16-page visit. Somebody will probably come in later and convert. Then I got a couple other small ones. That's not bad. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit more and look at what my remarketing visits have brought in today. We're doing a thing called remarketing, which is an extremely effective way of getting display ads out onto the internet. So I take a look at them. They're always going to be shorter visits, but they're also a lot cheaper. So I'm okay with the fact that out of 9 visits, I only have really one long one, because this is more about brand impression and getting the name in front of people, whether they click through or not. So I think a lot of marketers will appreciate the idea, the concept of going to one dashboard, being able to look at it every day or every week or whatever is convenient to get a feel for the quality of the visits they're bringing in. Imagine your boss comes in, you're the boss, Carl, in your organization. You ask your marketer, hey, what's this bill I got from LinkedIn or from Google or Bing or whatever the case may be, and they pull up a dashboard and say, well, look at the quality of traffic that's bringing in. Do you want me to turn that off, Carl, and stop getting those 20-page visits to the site? You're probably going to say, no, that's cool, leave that on. Or optimize this, or maybe tweak it this way or that way. We have a scenario, and this is, you can't make this stuff up, and I thought I had a screenshot in here. We had a scenario of somebody that hit our site from LinkedIn last January, and it was like a day before I decided that I was going to turn off LinkedIn ads. I don't know what my deal was, or if I just wasn't sure about them. And she hit our site coming from a LinkedIn ad like on January 6th, and she kept coming back to the site over and over, and then somewhere at the end of the month she actually filled in the Contact Us form, and I think 4 weeks later we had sold her our solution. And of course, when you went back to her original visit, you knew that she came from a LinkedIn ad, and that was really cool to see. So what did? We turned the LinkedIn ads back on, because it was like, okay, we just closed, I think in that case it was a $6,000 deal off, $100 worth of spend on LinkedIn. I mean, that first deal at the beginning of the year is going to pay for our entire LinkedIn budget for the year. We've closed more deals from LinkedIn, and now we know that, so we can clearly map that back together. All right, I got one more here that I'm going to do just really quick for a few minutes, called our True Stories campaign. We did a campaign where we did a webinar called True Stories of Marketing with Microsoft CRM, which is some of the content that you're seeing today. Now, we really sat down and thought about, what were our goals of this campaign, and those were basically to get new prospects and to build brands. So sometimes you get people to a webinar that they don't buy immediately, but they think about your brand and maybe sell to them a year or 2 years later. So we wanted to do those two things. We had multiple vehicles to do this. We held a webinar in 4 time slots. So instead of just doing the one time a day webinar, since we're a global company, we did it on European time, we did it on Eastern U.S., on Western U.S. time, and then on Australia, New Zealand time, to make it convenient. Because if you really think about it, and I rarely see this done, but if you think about it, if you're going to go to all the drama to put together the content for webinar and all that, why not, do all the promotion? Why not hold it, multiple times if you're a multi-time zone type of company? Because that's the least hard part of it. The giving it is the least hard part of it. It's all the promotion and the recruiting of getting people to it. So we held it in 4 time slots. We created a specific landing page for it, and then we had invitation and follow-up emails sent by us, but mainly sent by a third party that had a bigger list of people in the Microsoft CRM world. So we used a site called MS Dynamics World. They have a big list of people that are interested in CRM, so we paid them to email the invitation out. We went out to the blogosphere and to the main Twitterers, and then we went out to Microsoft and our partners to get them to send the link out. Now this is the landing page that we had for the webinar. And it's in good, with the exception of the ugly-looking guy's picture, it's in good form for a landing page. A landing page really has 3 main things. When people talk about landing pages, good landing page design dictates 3 things. 1, the content is targeted. You're bringing them to a page about a webinar. Don't talk about something else. Just talk about the webinar. So we have all the information about the webinar, why they should watch it, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have a singular call to action. Again, you brought them to get them to register the webinar. Don't try to also sell them a motorcycle. Just get them to register for the webinar. So we gave them 4 options, 4 times, made it kind of nice and pretty and colorful. And then the third thing that makes a landing page effective and special is that you have no extra navigation. We were just having a conversation about Las Vegas here. If you've ever been to a casino, whether it's in Las Vegas or somewhere else, you'll know that they don't want you to leave, so they make it very hard to find the exit. That's what you should do with a landing page. If you put a bunch of hyperlinks over here, we're just all such flighty, distracted people these days that you might lose them, they might click off. So a landing page should only let them click on one thing, which is the call to action. So that's what we did. And then we promoted that landing page out through a number of vehicles. So what I'm going to do is actually go back to CRM and show you where, looking at the visits that originated on the landing page, we're able to query them out because we're able to link a landing page to a campaign in CRM. So if I pull up the list of visits, 542 that came from this campaign, and I open any one of them, I can see that the visit is linked to the CRM campaign record. It's down here at the bottom because we have a way through our system to let you link the page to the campaign. So anybody that lands on the page gets linked to the campaign. What that means is that all these different ways that you've used to promote that landing page, you get a list of everybody that came in from one of those ways, and it's all conveniently and nicely tied up in a bow linked to the CRM campaign record. So when I query those out, I can do some analysis with CRM's visualization tools. Let me see there it is. And I can look at what types of sources brought the traffic in. So I get this pie chart showing me, how much traffic came from emails that MS Dynamics World sent out, how much came from bloggers. If I want to look and drill down and see which bloggers, for example, brought the most traffic, I can filter in that way. And I can clearly see right now that certain blogs brought forth more traffic than others. So guess what? Next time I run an event, I'm going to really double down and get those people to promote out the event. So you get all this data right inside your CRM, makes it very powerful, and you can see it. So my analysis of this webinar was that, for all the people that we promoted it to, we got about a 10% click-through rate to get them to the landing page. So for, we got about 542 visits. We promoted it out with the email addresses to about 5,000 people. So 542 is about 10% of 5,000. We got a 5% sign-up rate, and then we got about 50% of the people that signed up actually came back and watched the webinar. So basically we ended up with 150 people on the webinar out of a target audience of 5,000 people. So we now know that if we want to get X number of leads in the pipeline, if we want to get 200 people on a webinar, we're going to need whatever that's going to be, 7,000 or so people in the audience that we're promoting it out to. We also did some analysis on the time zones and which time zone brought the most registrations. Obviously, we got the most from the European time zone and the East Coast time zone because sometimes the people on the West Coast just want to wake up early and watch the thing. So we sort of learned about what might be the best times to hold something like this, and it really turned out to be pretty effective. So we're 4 minutes before the hour. I'm going to hold my last case study, and then I'm going to put us on the contact page and see if Carl wants to sort of make any comments and see if anybody out there might want to put in any questions through the question and answer function.
Yeah, I've had a couple of questions in which I've answered. If you want to know any more information about this, certainly internally we use the tool. We've learned a lot about where we generate marketing interest, and we've listened a number of times to John's presentations, and we learn something every time. So I must thank John for his time. We just happened to manage to meet up with him at Microsoft, so thank you very much for that. If you want to know more, then contact your account manager, so Anthony Ford, Stuart Cassie, John Pearson, or in the office will be Oliver. So hopefully you all know Oliver, so put an email into info@, and we can get you that extra information. We've got a number of clients who are using it now. The feedback has been very, very positive, both on the e-marketing side and the web analytics side. So I urge you to take a look and learn some more about it. If you've got any questions, then put them into the dialog box, and I haven't got any at the moment, but we'll try and give you an answer. Anyone got any questions? Do you want to go back to your last case study?
We could. Yeah, so Carl suggested that maybe we do one more case study. Since it is 4, we're not going to get our feelings hurt for people that need to drop off. So feel free to do that. But if anybody does have an extra few minutes, what the heck, we're here. We're online. For everybody else, thanks for spending the amount of time you did, because it looks like everybody stayed on up to this point, which is nice. And so we'll go back, and actually the last one is kind of my favorite. I probably should have put it toward the front. But we started doing something actually really interesting. We got a list of a couple thousand accounts that own Microsoft CRM, which is obviously our qualifying criteria. But our sales team is too busy to really deal with that list. First of all, we didn't have anything other than the account name, and we had no contacts, so we had to use some data research tools to research who the marketing VPs or directors or coordinators were for those companies, because that's kind of our target persona that we go after. And we decided to use an outsourced firm to not only do the research but then do the calling. And so their job is to research all the marketing people at the companies and then have the callers call in and give them a certain pitch to see if they're interested in setting up a demo with one of our sales team. Okay. And what's cool about this is that with Microsoft CRM security model, you can let an outsourced group work inside your CRM, and you can cordon off a batch of data for them to work with without having to worry that they're going to get into your other data and do anything with it. And they can just really add new records and work with the records you gave them. And so we did that. So what we did was we created, and we're using CRM version 2011, which lets you have multiple versions of the forms for contacts and accounts and things like that. So we created a separate form for their security role, so they would just see really the basic data points that they need. We even created, their company's called Market Expander, they're out of Bangalore. We even created a section for their specific fields that they see when they log in. So they end up with a really sort of simple screen on the account record, and they come in, and you can see that in this particular account, IO Data Centers, which is now a customer, that they came in, that they did some research, they found the LinkedIn URL of the company, they used Google, LinkedIn, the company's website, and a tool called Inside View to research. And then they made some notes that one of the contacts was interested and wanted to set a meeting. And then we ended up with a meeting. They marked it as passed to sales. And then what is really cool is we can, I probably have these slides backwards, is that we've created on the records in CRM, on the contact records, a sort of automation where we created a field on the contact records that have names of different email templates, different email ClickDimensions email templates, so that these callers can, instead of having to go off and write people emails, thanks for your time on the phone, or can you spare the time for me, we just give them 3 canned emails, and all they have to do when they're on a contact record is choose the one that's appropriate and click save, and that email gets fired off. But it's not just that the email gets fired off through workflow, which we send our emails through workflow, it's that they can see who opened the email and who clicked the email. So what they do is they have a pre-call email that we created. So a lot of times they'll pull up, if they can make 50 calls a day, for example, they'll pull up a list of 50 people, they'll run a CRM workflow to send that pre-call email. It'll go out to those 50 people. Then they'll make their 50 calls from yesterday to the people they sent the email to. The idea being that rather than just be totally cold on the phone, they want an email, they want the name to have been in front of their face. So they can say, Carl, you might have seen my email yesterday, and it sort of warms the conversation up. So they pre-send that email, and then if they have an interaction with them on the phone and the person says, I want a demo, then they'll actually go off-road and just schedule that. But if they just kind of say, hey, just send me more information, they can send the second email where they held an interaction, which will give them the more extensive list of what we do and how to get in touch with us in the future and all that. And then if they just can't get the person and they're on the 3rd follow-up, they'll send this email for a meeting request that's really canned, and it says, hey, Carl, we've tried 3 or 4 times, we can't get you, we'd really like a meeting. So that's sort of like the Hail Mary last pass type of thing. So that's our process. And let me go back to CRM and actually show you. This is real data. Let's see if those guys are actually working for us today. I hope they are. So in CRM you have this thing called the workplace, and you can go in and look at activity. So every time one of these callers in Bangalore makes a call, we have them log an activity to the contact record. So I'm going to go down here and look at my phone call activities, and I'm going to look at their phone calls, so the ones that are being created by these Market Expander folks. And I can see, let's see, let me look at the dates, 11:29, 3:54 p.m. So they made a call 10 minutes ago. So the marketing machine is alive and well at Quick Dimensions. So I can see that Jay is calling and Sunil is calling. I can see the note on this one. Kathleen said she is not interested. She has several other priorities. I don't like the sound of that, but that happens. And so they're but they're calling, a couple guys calling 56 people a day, and they go through and they get a lot of rejections, but then they get these meetings and book them. So we can, it's all in CRM. We can measure it all. We're seeing all the calls they make. We're seeing by status when they actually hold an interaction, when they get voicemail, when they get a gatekeeper, and we can see the ones that they actually pass to sales, because we've got another item in there where we're able to filter out. And let me see if I can do it here. Call response. I think I need to be on the account records for that to be able to see who they've passed to sales. Let me see if I can do that. Oh wait, there it is. I just missed it. So now I can see all the accounts. So now, so far in this exercise, we've gone through a couple hundred companies. They've passed 26 off to sales that we're now actively working. So this is a really neat way to sort of have people working on it, have it right in CRM, use the automation, and be able to sort of measure what they do. So that's kind of the last example of just sort of a different. You really got to these days in marketing work it from all angles. You got to try everything.
That's fantastic. Hopefully, guys, that's given you an insight into how you can better expand your use of Microsoft CRM. If you want more information, as I said, call in to Oliver or drop in an email in at info@consultcrm.co.uk, and I hope you found the webinar of value. So thanks very much, John, for your time and for coming over to the UK to host the seminar.
All right, let's go to the pub. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.